Today's Mums Chat is on the subject of guilty mother syndrome. Becoming a mother brings a multitude of emotions, mainly relief to be through childbirth and joy to finally meet your baby face to face, hold him or her in your arms and welcome them into your family. There is so much to learn in the early days, especially for a first-time mum, and it seems being a parent is a continuous learning experience. I read in a Sunday newspaper recently that parenting is one glorious, messy experiment, and I couldn't agree more. As we progress through the different tests that mothering brings, we master some things quickly out of necessity, such as nappy changing, and find other skills take a bit longer before we feel competent, like dressing your tiny babe without bending their arms in the wrong direction as you put sleeves on, or trimming tiny fingernails and toenails without nipping your child. And some skills we never master. Making homemade organic baby food was never an option for me with my limited cooking skills, and the supermarket baby aisle came to my rescue there. There is one thing, however, that we mothers are all experts at immediately: self-assessment. We all have a voice in our head judging us and telling us how we've done. It's as though the birth of our child brings with it an app that automatically installs itself inside our head as the umbilical cord is cut, and it's called guilty mother syndrome. It lays dormant, waiting for triggers to come along, and then it springs into ugly action. There are numerous triggers for this app, and I've mentioned one of mine already in my reliance on the supermarket baby food. Another guilt trigger for me was cleaning my baby's first milk teeth. Here in the UK, we're encouraged to clean teeth as soon as they arrive, but my daughter would not let me get anywhere close, and I beat myself up so much about my dental hygiene failure, convinced her beautiful little teeth would turn black and fall out due to my inability to clean them twice a day. Another of my guilt triggers was whenever my child hurt herself. My daughter started rolling rather than crawling, and true to form, she rolled into the side of a cupboard in the lounge and gave herself a huge bruise on her forehead just 10 minutes before we had to leave for her first day at nursery. Oh, the horror, oh, the shame. My guilty mother app sprang into action, saying I had obviously neglected her, and what would the nursery staff think of me? Some triggers we share and others are individual to us, but the end result is the same: a feeling of self-condemnation for in some way being an inadequate parent. But this self-condemnation is not from God, and this is what we are discussing today. One common trigger for guilty mother syndrome is feeding formula milk to your baby instead of breastfeeding. This area is a minefield, and I tread very carefully into it, knowing I may be criticised and misunderstood, but I have met so many mothers who are burdened and tied up with guilt over having chosen or turned to formula that it's worth including here to shine a biblical perspective on the matter. At this point, I will put on my spiritual armour, pick up my shield of faith, and obediently keep going. For mums who choose to breastfeed, the level of support from midwives, health visitors, and special baby groups is high. It needed to be high for a hapless mum like me. I had no clue, and such a big gap between my babies meant I needed teaching twice. I gave it my best shot for as long as I could, and I'm glad I did. The professional people who helped me and encouraged me did their job very well. There were many wonderful, tender, peaceful feeds, and the frequent nighttime feeds were straightforward. However, it was not a bed of roses. Sore nipples, blocked milk ducts, mastitis, growth spurts, and initial anxiety about feeding in public, not to mention in church, are also part and parcel of the breastfeeding experience for many mums. Combine that with going back to work, and it's a complex decision for many of us. We really are fortunate to live in a country where we are helped to breastfeed if we want to, and free to choose which option works best for us and our family. But guilt can hang around the neck of a mum who chooses formula, and this guilt is not from God. God is not judging you for your choices or constantly assessing you on your performance as you learn to mother your baby. He loves you very much. You are his child, remember? And as much as you love your baby, God feels even more deeply about you. Please be clear on the message here. It is not anti-breastfeeding. It is anti-unnecessary guilt tripping, whatever the trigger may be. Feeding decisions are a common cause of guilt for mothers, and for me, teeth cleaning, weaning, and bumps and bruises were too. But John chapter 3, verse 17 reads, Jesus did not come into the world to condemn it, but in order that the world would find salvation and be made safe through him. Jesus is more concerned about your soul and whether you believe in him, trust in him, and rely upon him. There is a promise attached to doing this, and it comes in the next verse. Verse 18 says, For he who believes and trusts in him, there is no rejection, no condemnation. Wow, how amazing, how freeing. No rejection and no condemnation. That's not to say there's no correction. God will correct us, but not through guilt and shame. So how do you move forward if you are weighed down with self-condemnation as you raise your baby? Wherever your guilty mother syndrome comes from, you can de-install the app. In John chapter 8, verse 15, Jesus says, You set yourself up to judge according to the flesh, by what you see. You condemn by external human standards. I do not set myself up to judge or condemn anyone. Verse 31 and 32 continue. Jesus said to those who had believed in him, If you abide in my word and hold fast to my teachings and live in accordance with them, you are truly my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. You can access the truth by aligning your thinking with the Bible. This is what abide in my word and hold fast to my teachings means. Know in your heart that you are not condemned by Jesus, and make his opinion matter most in your life. Praise God for your baby's health and growth. Thank God that you live in a country where you have information, support, and options. Re-examine your guilt triggers and ask him to give you wisdom in how you view yourself as a parent. Trust him to help you as you hold fast to his word and let his truth set you free from whatever unnecessary guilt is hanging over you. Be released and be blessed.